Good afternoon. Our processional hymn is number 298. If you are at home, please join in singing. If you're in the building, please hum along and mouth the words. Welcome. My name is Carla Williams, and I am the Vice President of the Board of Trustees and the Chair of the Committee on Shared Ministry. Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home, or you are here to celebrate with us this milestone in our community's life, we are grateful you are here. Whether you are in the sanctuary, on the lawn, in another room, or participating from your home, sorry, this type is so small on my phone. Participating from a home, we're grateful you're with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth in love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, we practice beloved community and remember our kinship with one another. The shared ministry we consecrate today is made stronger and more life-giving through your witness and partnership. You are welcome to view the program for today's service by scanning the QR code or going to the UCE website. There's a link on the screen, or not. We only ask that you silence your phones if you're here with us in the building today. Childcare is available in room 9 with an opportunity to view the live stream in the room across the hall, room 6 in the lower level. Again, thank you for being with us on this joyous day.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Susan Francis, the assistant minister here at UCE. This is our land acknowledgement. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. This land was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in the 1829 Treaty of Prairie du Chien. The government then sold the land to white settlers. After decades of violent encroachment by the French, British, and then American white settlers, and the defeat of a pan-Indian movement to keep white settlers out of the Great Lakes region, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before they were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. Our faith calls us to name these realities as one small effort toward finding greater accountability, deeper relationship, and mutuality with contemporary Indigenous communities. The state of Illinois is currently home to more than 75,000 tribal members, and the Chicagoland area is home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the U.S. We name these in honor and respect for the land which we use as sacred space, for the animals and plants that have been sustained by this land, and for our ancestors and descendants who are and will become part of the earth.
My dearest members and leaders of the Unitarian Church of Evanston, though many of you may know me from when I was a ministerial intern amongst you, I am the Reverend David Pyle. I serve as the regional lead for the Mid-America region of our Unitarian Universalist Association and as your congregation's primary contact on the UUA staff. And it is my great joy to bring greetings to you all from the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations as you install the Reverend Eileen Wiviott as your senior minister. What does it mean to call and install a minister? I mean, you already ordained her, right? I seem to remember that. I seem to remember you doing it. I think I was there. Just as your congregation ordained me to the Unitarian Universalist ministry over a decade ago. But to call and install a minister is something different, something more. First off, a ministerial call is, at its core, an election. Just as you elect a congregational board, your called senior minister is an elected leader of your congregation, elected to an indefinite term. You have asked Reverend Eileen to lead you, not only as an institutional leader, but as a spiritual leader. With this call, you have granted her the freedom of the pulpit to preach and teach as she feels called by her own relationship to humanity, divinity, and her own conscience. You have granted her the responsibility to represent the congregation in the community, in the wider faith movement, but also in those small moments of pastoral care, at a bedside, in the hospital, with a family in the midst of grief. You have called her to represent your congregation and our faith in those moments too. You have asked her to be present in the life of your congregation, to call you to where you can change and grow, and to comfort you when that change and growth is hard. As you install her to this ministry, to which you have called her, this ministry not only amongst you, but to the wider world, I ask you bring into your heart that you are installing her to leadership amongst you. You will not always agree, and there will be times when you disappoint each other. But the act of installing her today as your called senior minister is not only asking her to serve, it is you making a commitment to at least try to follow where her leadership takes you and your congregation. To my friend Eileen, dear heart, were it not for a global pandemic, I would have made sure to be with you today in person. But I am honored you asked me to be here in this way. As I said when you were ordained, I remember the beginning of this journey for you to a called ministry amongst these people who you have always loved since the first moment I met you over 15 years ago. What I wanted to say to you today, dear one, is that these have long been your people, and you have long been theirs. Today is a day of recognition of a call that I think happened in your heart long ago. The Unitarian Universalist Association recognizes with great joy the installation of Reverend Eileen Wiviott as the senior minister of the Unitarian Church of Evanston. And I, for one, could not be more proud of all of you.
Come, holy, come spirit, come broken, come shattered, come blessed, come life. Come, holy, come you who is broken, who cannot find your way, but still sit here among us. Come, holy. Would you join me? Would you be here in this place? Can you bring all that you own? Not just the pretty stuff, but everything that you have that is questioning in your heart, on your feet, in your bones. Can you bring the language of love and the symbols of belonging, the stories of your faith, the flags of your heritage and the culture of your ancestors, whichever way you move in this world, however much money you have in your pocket, whatever race you claim, whatever gender is expressing today, bring all that you dare. The whole of you is welcomed. Come, holy, all that is in us, all that surrounds us, all that connects us and brings us into this time. Weave here a web, weave here this place, weave here this life, so we might reach out beyond this time. Come, holy. Come and be here now.
As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find find us serving peace, peace for all right now. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace, peace for all right now. As for me and my house, you will find us serving love. As for me and my house, you will find us serving love. As for me and my house, you will find us serving love, love for all right now. As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope. As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope. As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope, hope for all right now. As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy. As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy. As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy, joy for all right now. Let there be joy for all right now. Let there be hope for all right now. Let there be love for all right now. Let there be peace for all right now.
We light this chalice, symbol of our living tradition, in honor of our founding mother, Nellie Brow, whose vision of Unitarian kinship and free religious community in Evanston became the beacon of All Souls Church, and then the Unitarian Church of Evanston.
We light this chalice in honor of our first religious educator, Julia Hintermeister, who blessed this congregation and its children with a commitment to justice and service.
And we light this chalice in honor of our first and longest-serving minister, Reverend James Villa Blake, who gave us the gift of our covenant in 1894, which has bound this congregation since. As the chalice is lit, please rise in body and or spirit and join us in saying the words of this covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Could I please have my weavers come up and help? Did you know that there are bridges made out of ropes, made out of grass in South America? There are. Actually, there's one left. But a long time ago, the Inca people used grass to make ropes, to make braids, to make bridges. Together, they wove the paths that they used to cross chasms and rivers that otherwise could not be crossed. And the only way that these bridges could be made is if everyone did their part. Entire villages building these bridges for a period of time, a few days altogether, and braiding and braiding and braiding and braiding and braiding, just like that. Now, I couldn't figure out a way to make a stole out of grass. But I figured, well, we can use fabric, and the fabric can be like that grass, right? So as we are weaving together a stole for Eileen, I am going to invite you to, oh, you're all done, good job. In a minute, I'm gonna finish creating it, and while I create it, I'm going to invite you to call forth the blessings. Call forth the blessings that you are weaving into this stole as Eileen and I finish braiding it. Okay, so I need some brave person to start calling things out.
Fierceness.
Fierceness. Compassion. Harmony. Harmony. Joy. Joy. Hope. Humor. Virtue. Justice. Love. Creativity.
Patience.
Humility.
Courage. Tough love.
What do you think about maybe once a year reweaving it? Because it turns out that that's what they do with the bridges. Every year they make the bridges. You cannot make a bridge out of grass and then expect it to exist forever. Every year you make a new bridge. Every year you choose your shared ministry. Maybe at the board retreat or at some event every October. Maybe you reweave. Maybe you look at some of it is maybe a little too frayed. Did you see that it's not perfect? Yeah, and it has like strings and stuff. So maybe you bring in new fabrics to mark an important moment in your shared ministry. I will leave it to you as your homework.
Our reading is by the Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed.
Hello. I want to share with you these words from the Unitarian Universalist Association website. In 1988, the General Assembly established the Living Tradition Fund and requested that ordination and installation services held in member societies include an offering to the fund. That request has become a tradition among us at installations, ordinations, other milestone occasions, and from 2 services at General Assembly, as well as individual gifts. The Living Tradition Fund provides 3 types of service and support for ministry. First, need-based scholarships for theological students who've completed a full year of theological education. Then new minister assistance to reduce the burden of high educational debt and repayment. Emergency assistance grants to seminarians, ministers, religious professionals, and other congregational staff, retired ministers, and their loved ones. So reads the website, and even on the website, the sense of need comes through, but I want to share with you how I've seen this fund make a difference. A beloved friend of mine, minister of a small congregation with a small budget and small ministerial compensation, experienced a catastrophic loss when her son committed suicide. It was the busy spring season of the congregational year, and while she took a couple of weeks off, the congregation didn't seem to entirely grasp the impact of such a loss on their minister of 7 years. She and her entire family needed real support, help with funeral and burial costs, and grief counseling. She'd spent many years herself as a hospital chaplain in crisis medicine and given support to countless grieving hearts, but now she needed that support for herself and her family. The Living Tradition Fund stepped in and provided a generous part of that support. They couldn't change events or even cover all the significant costs, but the grant and the willingness to be there for her as a colleague nourished her spirit tremendously, as did the counseling. As her friend, I was moved and comforted myself by the support to her and her family. In my own life, I left seminary with $50,000 in debt. It was intimidating, especially because I wasn't going to a congregation that was going to pay me a large salary, nor could that congregation understand the burden of debt I was bringing with me. But each year, for the first 5 years, as we were allowed, I applied for a grant from the fund. And each year I'd receive a letter apologizing and explaining how many such applications they had. I have a dear friend who left theological school with combined debt of $75,000, so I knew they were telling the absolute truth. And the fund isn't gigantic or proportional to all the needs that exist. And still, each year, for that first 5 years, along with that letter, I would receive $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000. Every time I go to an ordination, an installation, or the service of the living tradition at General Assembly or the Sunday GA service, I feel the presence of the fund in my life and the lives of people I love. The fund is there in concrete support and spiritual presence, a real expression of universal love. As a student, I gave small amounts that felt like a fortune, $20. Then early in settled ministry, I would give maybe $50. But as the importance and need of the fund became more and more of a reality to me, my gifts grew because I knew the full hearts of my colleagues as they dedicate themselves to and love our congregations and their community placements. And I increasingly knew the sorrows and burdens they bear while answering the call of our faith. At a General Assembly one year, the Reverend Ralph Merrow spoke for the offering of the Living Tradition Fund. And he said, "I bet you knew what you were going to give to the fund when you came in this morning. You looked in your wallet or checkbook and formed an idea of your gift to this vital fund. But I'm telling you to take that amount and double it. If it's written on a check, write another check. Do what you need to do, but at least double it. I promise it won't hurt, and even more, I promise you'll feel even better about this gift than you did about the first one, because you will know the fund will be empowered to make an even bigger difference in the lives of clergy and our congregational staff." I love Ralph, and his words just blew me over with their common sense. So I'm asking you, if you knew what you were going to give, double it at least. And if you haven't yet formed an idea, think about what drew you to this gathering today. The gifts of ministry that the Reverend Eileen Wiviott is bringing has brought to our movement, and the great gifts of other clergy and congregational staff that you know or have known. To sustain ministries like that, to let ministers and others in need know that they're not alone. Give with double your generosity to the Living Tradition Fund, and let the fund know that the installation of the Reverend Eileen Wiviott inspired unprecedented generosity in our people. The offering will now be taken up.
I supposed to go after that? What is that about? That was good. I play the piano and my arms don't have that much strength. You should appreciate what that man just did. I am excited to be here with you today as you install my dear friend, Reverend Eileen, as your senior minister. Eileen was my buddy in seminary. She answered the phone when this incoming student needed a little bit of help in figuring out which end was up. And it's nice to be here with all of my colleagues, some of whom are classmates, some of whom I've served with on various committees, and some that I've just met in passing through Unitarian Universalism. And then what a surprise to see David Pyle. I've known David since I was in seminary and he was based in Delaware. And I'm delighted that he's now in Mid-America region with me. I didn't realize he did his internship here until he told me yesterday. But learning that reminded me that we're all scattered around the country and around the globe. How we pass through cities and towns and congregations and regions at different times and in different stages of our lives. We come together in all manner of ways, sometimes only temporarily, passing in and out of our paths, and sometimes creating long-lasting bonds and communities that endure our entire lives. In so many ways, Unitarian Universalism is a small world, a world of folks together by choice and united in purpose. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I wasn't going to come here and not talk about history, right? There's got to be something about history. I love the stories of our faith, of Unitarianism, of Universalism, and of Unitarian Universalism, how we came to be and what holds us together. This notion of being together by choice is in our denominational DNA. It's rooted in the Cambridge platform of church discipline. Now, I'm not going to do an hour on the Cambridge platform. Yeah, I know. You were waiting for that, weren't you? You've probably heard a little bit about it, 1648, the whole thing, and know that it's the basis of much of our congregational polity. In fact, it establishes that notion of congregational polity for us. But it also speaks to the shared responsibility of members for the health and well-being of their congregations. It says, we are a company of saints by calling, united into one body by a holy covenant, for the public worship of God and the mutual edification of one another in the fellowship of the Lord Jesus. Our covenant is a voluntary agreement. We choose to be together because we want to be together. And that's what keeps us together. We make promises to one another about how we will be in relationships. You've worked through this process here. I've heard a little bit about the work of this congregation and your How We Are Together project. In my congregation, we're beginning that work, and we started by asking ourselves 3 questions. How do we want to be with one another? How do we hold one another? And how do we sustain ourselves and our relationships? All of these things are at the core of shared ministry. We've heard that term a lot, and some may be wanting to know what's a definition. Well, I'll give you one. That comes from Gay Webb, who's a lay leader at the UU Church of the Brazos Valley in Texas. She says it's when the minister, the lay leadership, and the congregational volunteers work collaboratively in covenant with mutual trust and support toward a common vision, a set of goals, and a legacy of this progressive faith for the congregation and the community at large. Do you see the alignment with the Cambridge platform and that notion of being pulled together and called together by choice? Do you see how there's unity in purpose? That's the essence of shared ministry. People coming together with trust and working toward a common vision, working for the common good and the betterment of our larger community. This is what you've been building here in Evanston for well over 100 years, and what you have continued to build since Reverend Eileen got here, and what you will do with her as your senior minister. It sounds beautiful, and it is beautiful, and it's hard work. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Unitarian Universalism kind of has a reputation for not being especially diverse. And it sometimes has issues in how it deals with people of marginalized identities. I know you're just all shocked to hear this. But as we talk about shared ministry and we think about how we are together, shouldn't we understand who we is? As part of the process of becoming a minister, we're required to undergo a 2-day psychological assessment. During my assessment, the middle-aged white woman psychologist examiner asked me why I wanted to be part of a pale and dying denomination. She said those words to my face. I was caught completely off guard. Now, looking back, hindsight is 20/20, I realized that she was giving voice to a thought that's been in the back of my mind since I first walked into the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia in 2009. I've had the honor of speaking and doing pulpit supply and teaching to people from many UU congregations. And when I hear someone in a UU congregation lamenting a lack of diversity and asking how to attract people of color because we're so white, I have to take a step back and say, who is we? Who is we indeed? When we talk about our congregations and our movement, who do we really mean? At General Assembly a couple of years ago, someone called the audience a sea of white and gray. And I don't think they were talking about my hair. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard folks tell me their congregation is all straight, or all educated, or all middle class, when there are folks right there in the room who are not straight, not wealthy, and not holders of a single college degree. How can we do shared ministry if we're not even clear who we is? That reviewer's assessment was shocking, and it was also unfair, untrue, and unkind. It's unfair to those of us who are doing the work to make change in Unitarian Universalism. It is unfair. It is untrue because it ignores the existence of Black, brown, and other indigenous people and people of color and holders of marginalized identities who have been part of this denomination and Unitarianism and Universalism before that since its earliest days. That statement was unkind because it dismisses those who have dedicated their lives to Unitarian Universalism. Those who have worked hard and long for what they believe to be right and just, and who continue to do so long after they've earned the right to retire. They're still showing up and volunteering and being on the board and helping to arrange the new minister's installation. And still, here we are. I understand that this can be shocking and jarring, and that it can create confusion and uncertainty about how to go forward. I really do get that, because sometimes it's confusing for me too. But I know in my heart we can make it better. So as you embark on this new journey together, I want you to remember a few things. We aren't all anything. We're all white? Nope. I don't think so. If I'm here, then we aren't all white. We're all humanists. No, there's a whole UU Christian fellowship. We're all liberals and Democrats. Nah, sorry. We aren't all anything. Just like the beautiful stole that was woven during the story, we are many things, many types of fabrics. We are silk and linen and taffeta and crepe and tulle. We are all the things that you offered out as blessings. We are fierce and resilient and hopeful and joy-filled and loving. We are all of those things. Remember that there is beautiful diversity in this congregation. In Unitarian Universalism and in this world, each of us, every single one of us, is part of the we. Each of us brings something valuable to the whole. Now, once you know who we are, we can work on why we're here. We're here for all different kinds of reasons. Some of us are UUs and are here because we either don't want to be or can't be somewhere else. Some were hurt by the church of their childhood or some other faith to which they'd previously belonged. Maybe because of your gender identity or who you love, you weren't welcomed at that place where you were. Maybe you just couldn't accept the doctrine or the creed of that former faith. Some of you are here because you are a legacy Unitarian or a legacy Universalist. And by that, I mean you were a member of one of those two faiths prior to 1961. Some of you are here for community. You just need a place where you can be with other people. You come to sing in the choir or to have coffee hour. Some of you are here, or maybe you're not here, because of the justice work. Bylaws and governance are just not your thing. Sunday morning service is okay, but it's not the most important thing for you. You're all about getting out in the street and doing the work. You don't want to be in a religion. You want to be in a movement, making change. Some of you are here looking for tools to help you find and make meaning of your life and your place in this world, especially now. Especially now, so many of us are unsure. And through theological engagement, through worship, through community and justice work, maybe that's how you find, make, and share meaning with others. I don't know. I can't know why you're here. It could be any of those reasons or a combination of them, or maybe something totally different. Maybe you're just here out of curiosity, or maybe somebody dragged you here and made you come. Or maybe you misread the sign and thought this was a different place altogether. I don't know why you're here, but I do know why we're here. And by we, I mean Unitarian Universalists. We're here because we choose to be here. We choose to be bound together in community. We don't all look alike or think alike or come from the same backgrounds or have the same goals, but we still choose to be here. We share a belief in our principles. We're here because we know that we are part of the interconnected web of existence that encompasses all living things. That each of us is like a blade of grass in that wonderful bridge. We're here because we share a belief in some force or some power that calls us on and propels us forward. Regardless of what you call it, God, nature, humanity, or that thing which has no name, there is something that is the reason why you're here. We're here because we share a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of everyone. And even though there are some who might use our first principle as a weapon, there are more of us who view it as a loving invitation and as a complement to the 8th principle. There are those of us who view our being together as being about justice and equity and freedom for everyone, regardless of the color of their skin, who they love, how they move, what they have, or where they were born. We're here because we know in our hearts that none of us is free until all of us are free. We're here because we share a belief and a sense of hope that a better world is possible. We're bound by our faith in the ideal of beloved community. We may have different views about God and human nature. We may be on different spiritual paths, but this I know for sure. Regardless of how we got here, we're here because we want to be here. We want to be in community. We want to find and make meaning. We want to grow in spirit. We are together by choice. We're here to set aside our differences and come together and find new ways to respond to the problems of today's society, to fight oppression wherever we find it. We're here to spread peace and love and hope and joy. We're here to transform ourselves and this world around us. My hope is that you always remember that. Always remember that. If you take nothing else from today, remember that we are here together by choice and united in purpose. Blessings on your new shared ministry.
The This song, written by Carisha Longacre, calls us to learn to lead in love in these times of great turning. It inspires us to appreciate the good company we keep and go deep into the well, our source, our creativity, connection, and ability to thrive. You're invited to join in dancing using the scarves tied to your chairs if you'd like, rather than singing along. If you're participating at home, feel free to sing and/or dance along. We shall be known.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these eyes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these eyes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these eyes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
Hi, I am Joe Romeo, President of the Board of Trustees, and these are members of the Board of Trustees.
Yay.
There were only a couple of us who were not able to make it today. We gather this afternoon to install Reverend Eileen Wiviott as the 14th settled senior minister of this congregation. The coming together of minister and congregation has special significance, particularly when there is involved, as is the case for us, a long relationship of shared ministry. Reverend Eileen, we have freely chosen you as our minister, and you have freely chosen to serve us in covenant. We call you to partner with us in pursuit of our common mission, nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We call you to make our concerns your concerns and to lead us in the paths of love, service, truth, and peace. We ask that you do as you always have, to preach with integrity and freedom, to accompany us in our joys and sorrows, and to demonstrate through words and actions as fully as you are able the principles of our free faith. Are you prepared to accept the invitation of this congregation to this ministry?
I gladly accept this invitation with your partnership and with your kinship.
Will the members of the Unitarian Church of Evanston please rise in body or in spirit and say with me the words from the order of service, so that together we may affirm our call to Reverend Eileen and her acceptance of that call. We, the members of the Unitarian Church of Evanston, do hereby install you, Eileen Riley Wiviott, as senior minister of our congregation. For our part, we pledge to work with you to uphold the great gifts of our tradition, its deep trust and faith for the human spirit, its reverence for life, its dedication to the free and responsible search for meaning, and its recognition of the ministry, beauty, and wonder of the universe.
With humility, gratitude, and joy, I take up the ministry to which you have called me. In recognition of my call, which has long been in formation among you, I pledge myself to you, to the history of this congregation, to its present and to its future. In making this promise, I rededicate myself to a search which has no ending, to discover and share new truth and the wisdom of history. I pledge myself anew to the practice of beloved community, to accompany you in times of loss and to celebrate with you in times of triumph, to challenge and encourage all of us to pursue a more loving, sustainable, and equitable world. In so doing, I pledge myself once more to the work of co-creation and compassion, collective liberation and companionship, in service to all that is loving, true, and life-giving.
Will all who have not yet risen, colleagues, family, and friends, please rise in spirit or in body to bear witness to this act of installation. We do hereby affirm the installation and this ministry. May congregation and minister both be blessed with strength and wisdom in the years of necessary and cherished work ahead.
You did it. you.
Woohoo! I had to. I'm Kathy Underwood, Director of Lifespan Faith Formation here, and we would like to present, on behalf of the children and youth of this beloved congregation, a stole to Reverend Eileen.
Every minister needs a wardrobe, obviously. And Eileen, this will be your third stole for this event. It's my honor to present this stole on behalf of the congregation. So I bought these belts in Chiapas, Mexico, 4 years ago when we could still travel, and I bought them for you. At that time, I was going to make a stole for Flower Communion, and then we had intern ministers and a search, and we didn't know what was going to happen. So, may your ministry be wrapped in a bed of flowers. And the Flower Communion celebrates beauty, human uniqueness, diversity, and community, and these are all attributes you and the congregation celebrate together. So, thank you, Carol. So, for the days that she doesn't need a bed of flowers, there's another side. I think in keeping with our commitment to diversity, and I want you to know that these belts are embroidered by indigenous Mayan people in Chiapas, and they're called the Tzatzil, and they are the largest indigenous community in Chiapas.
So on the way to preparing the charge to this minister, I realized that almost exactly 18 years ago today, I delivered the charge to the minister to Reverend Barbara Peskin, being installed as the senior minister. And so I've been in Illinois for 24 years, and I want to say thank you to this congregation for providing so many wonderful ministerial colleagues to me over these years. I am very grateful. Eileen, there's many things I know about you. I'm not going to name them all. One of them is that you are already wise in the ways of ministry. Another is that you love dogs. And this works out well for me because my main source of inspiration during these COVID times has been our family's pandemic puppy, Lloyd. Lloyd is a black and gray mutt, possibly of terrier origin, who I have come to think of as a role model for life and for ministry. And so here is your charge from Lloyd the dog.
I'm listening. Ready.
1, be here now. Lloyd reminds me every day to be fully present in the moment. If he is sniffing something, his whole body practically shakes. If he senses a squirrel, all of him is alert and ready to chase. I don't always know what goes on in his mind, but he never seems to have anything else in the back of his head. Just what is there right now. Ministry is full of details and meetings and the unresolved issues and the chronic challenges and the acute emergencies. There is always something else. So it is especially important to tend to this moment, right here, right now, whatever it is, with all that you have. Whatever it is deserves nothing less. And it is only then that you can move on to the next thing. Be here now. 2, she's got it, she's nodding. Listen to your body. You know what my dog does when he is tired? He lays down and he goes to sleep. He doesn't think about all the work he should get done before he even sits down. He doesn't wonder if he has earned the rest time by how productive he has been. He doesn't ask himself why on earth he should even be tired when he had a good night's sleep the night before. He just listens to his body and he responds. Your body and your mind and your spirit are precious. You must tenderly care for them. Listen, they will tell you what they need. This is an end in itself, tending to your mind and body and spirit, and it is also true that in order to tend to others, you must tend to yourself. Listen to your body. 3, presence, not words. Lloyd's presence in my family's life has made me understand more fully how much can be communicated without words. Our dog seems to know when the best thing to do for one of his humans is to curl up next to them on the couch and simply offer his presence. And I will attest to the fact that that presence has a comforting effect. I sometimes describe ministry as listening to lives, and Eileen, this is one of your particular gifts, listening and bearing witness. It feels to me like ministers are called to be present to lives in a way very different from friends. It is our job to be with, to witness, to help whoever it is, to know that they are not alone, to help them discern their own answers without our own particular agenda getting in the way. What we say should be less important than the fact that we are there, providing a presence and just listening. It's a fine line, but an important one. Presence, not words. 4, it's always a good time for a walk. I don't care how fast asleep Lloyd looks. The second you say the word walk, he is up and ready. I love that. To me, that's a reminder that it's always a good time to take a little break or a deep breath, even if you are completely immersed in something. Maybe especially then, it's a good time to step back and look at the big picture, change perspective, to put down work and take up fun, not that those are mutually exclusive, to stop expending energy and start restoring balance, and so on. The work of ministry is never done. The list is never complete. There is always more. So turn your attention elsewhere, move as you are able, however you can, even if it's not literally a walk. You'll feel good when you're doing it, and you'll feel better afterwards. It's always a good time for a walk. And finally, love with abandon. Perhaps the single greatest thing about having a dog is that they adore you, and they let you know. Lloyd greets me at the door with an enthusiasm and joy that lights us both up every time. It is the same reception if I have been away for several hours or a few seconds. It's the same reception no matter what I have or have not done during the time away. Your job, always as their minister, is to love this congregation with abandon. You don't always have to like them. You don't always have to be happy with what is happening. You just need to remind yourself of your bond and connection and let them know that they are worthy and wonderful and they are loved. Look out now among these great people. Think of those watching on their screens around the country and feel the love of this beloved community. That love will always be there. Let it be the ground of all your ministry. Love with abandon. Lloyd has taught me many things just by being who he is. The same can be said of you, Eileen. If you are ever in need of reminders, you have Sully and Ozzy at home to give you some prompts. May you continue to shine forth in this ministry, leading by example, taking good care of yourself, and sharing great love. And so, may it always be.
Well, thank you for that. I thought you were going to say, uh-oh. So on occasions like this, it is tempting to think that this is really all about Eileen. And it's about Eileen. And it's also about you. In the beginning, you know me. There's a metaphor here, right? We got to do the metaphor thing. In the beginning, there was a circle of light formed by the glow of many individual flames. Each of those individual flames fueled by the story of the holder, the dreams and the needs and the hopes broken and fulfilled, the losses and the disappointments, the gifts and the talents and the generosity of the many, lifetimes long, short of the ones holding the lamps, providing the lights that had come together to form the circle. It was a circle of seekers who in their wanderings and searchings were drawn together and found themselves in a place that seemed to hold the shining flames of their like-minded and open-hearted longings. The circle had formed around a large and ancient lamp that seemed to be calling to them, its wick unlit, its presence made visible by the light of the circle. For a time, the sheer exhilaration of seeing the faces, of feeling the presence of the many, and the growing familiarity and caring among them seemed to dim the very presence of that larger lamp. In time, some of the individual lamps began to flicker. Some went out, their fuel sources exhausted the wanderings that had brought them together. Some rekindled their flames from those closest to them in the circle. Some stood silent, unable or unwilling to ask, afraid of rejection. There were, of course, the helpers who watched for the sputtering flames of others and offered the new light as their own supplies began to dwindle. What to do? And then one emerged from the circle and pointed to the lamp at the center. Unlit, yes, but perhaps a source of both fuel and light. What if everyone were to offer what they could to the all but unseen central chalice? What light might emerge? What possibility for expanding the circle? What even of eliminating the world from which they had come? This is, I hope you recognize, your story. The one that re-emerged as you prepared to secure a place for Eileen Wiviott in your circle of light. You, the congregation of the Unitarian Church of Evanston, are the circle of light, formed by the lamps of your individual stories. Yours are the individual reservoirs that replenish and are replenished by the central lamp of your shared mission to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. You gather here today in person and streamed from your homes to welcome Eileen Wiviott as your 14th settled minister. In the past 2 years, you have weathered a pandemic. You have conducted a congregational review of your gifts and priorities. You have claimed your strengths and affirmed your mission, considered your governance, and strengthened your relationship with the larger community. You have deepened your understanding of shared ministry. You have fed and been fed by the common lamp. And now you are affirming your choice of one who will fill the unique place in the circle reserved for one you will call minister. She carries with her her reservoir of light that she has been gathering from many sources to shine on the world's potential for love and service. Today, she formalizes her covenant to share that light with you. And she does it out of a call that is beyond this congregation, the call of our larger Unitarian Universalist faith. Someday, she will vacate that place in the circle, and she will leave the lamp enhanced and ablazed with your shared gifts. My charge to you, who I have come to love as well, is to remember that the place of the minister is a particular place within the circle. The lamp is yours. The light of your shared mission and vision, which guides you, feeds you, sustains you. It is the light that you sustain with your time and talent and treasure, enhanced and supported by the presence of this gifted woman. This minister, in whatever time she holds her place in your circle, will offer to you the best of her love, the gifts of her life, and her preparation for this calling. Hear her. Consider her challenges. Receive her wisdom. Accept her imperfect self. Provide her with the resources and the feedback that will call forth her best self as she endeavors to do the same for you. Together may you sustain and grow that light which you carry with you every day into the world to nourish the human spirit for a world made whole. May it be so.
What a joy and an honor to be with you today on this momentous occasion. Loving and merciful God, we come today in gratitude for this momentous occasion in the life of our dear friend Eileen and in the life of the Unitarian Church of Evanston. We come in gratitude first because we are witnesses to what the psalmist wrote. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. We are grateful for your anointed and appointed, your called and commissioned servant, Eileen.
Lord, our Evanston community bears witness to Eileen's gifts and contributions already freely shared and given before this day of sacred consecration. We have seen her work with Evanston interfaith clergy and leaders. We have seen her work as an advocate for social justice and equity for all people. Before this day, we have heard her voice as a clarion call for justice on behalf of Jacob Blake, for equity in District 65, for the unity in our city. We have heard her story in clergy meetings, shared her faith in the unseen God, creator of the universe billions of years ago, and the quiet voice who awakened us this morning. We bear witness to Eileen's skills as teacher, administrator, preacher, planner, networker, and one who sees no boundaries to divine presence in the human family.
Then, too, we bear witness to the Unitarian Church of Evanston, a ray of hope in an often confusing and painful world. We thank God for the people of and in this sacred place. We bear witness to your commitment to nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We have seen your service as true neighbors, sharing your sacred space with others, committing to foster an atmosphere of faith and intellect, of words, music, and the arts. We bear witness to the actions and commitments of this church that help us realize Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s teaching that all life is interrelated and that we are all bound in a single garment of destiny. You teach us through word and deed that we can never reach our full potential unless all people flourish. This community has been on the forefront of building the beloved community. We bear witness to your workshops on race, your belief that Black lives matter, your extension of love to the multiplicity of faiths in Evanston and beyond.
And it is because of what we have witnessed that we now pause to give thanks for the magnitude of this moment. We pray for the power of the eternal God whom we know, worship, and understand in diverse ways to bless this union of minister and congregation. May this union find its cup running over with love, grace, mercy, and kindness. May the memory of this day sustain you all long into the future. When storms come, may the marvel of this day be more than enough to see you through. When challenges arise, may the unity of this day be the strength that will allow you to surmount the difficulties and continue to thrive.
Thank you, Divine One, for the shift in the atmosphere on this day, for hurtling through the stratosphere, and for landing here on Ridge Avenue in Evanston at the Unitarian Church of Evanston. May Reverend Eileen Wiviott be blessed with good health, strength, and clarity of vision so that she may continue to be a guiding light at the Unitarian Church of Evanston and beyond its walls.
And may our entire community be blessed because of the blessings that you, Almighty and ever-present source of love, have showered upon us all in this moment.
Amen.
Amen.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others." This is the whole of the law. All the rest is commentary.
In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declares, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you."
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
In the Gospel of Matthew and the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, "Hurt not others in ways that you yourself find hurtful."
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
In the Muslim hadith of An-Nawawi, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, teaches, "No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself."
Baha'u'llah, prophet and founder of the Baha'i faith, wrote, "And if thine eyes be turned towards justice, choose thou for thy neighbor that which thou choosest for thyself."
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are
The Oghala Lakota spiritual leaders, Black Elk, wrote, "All things are our relatives.
what we do to everything we do to ourselves.
As a Sikh, I believe I am a stranger to no one and no one is a stranger to me. Indeed, I am a friend of all.
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
We have done all the things. We have lighted a chalice. We have had beautiful music. We have heard a good word or two. We have installed Reverend Eileen Wiviott as the 14th minister of this congregation. We have had numerous blessings. We have heard a charge to the minister and a charge to the congregation. And now we, as a gathered community, both here and online, a group that will never be together, never be configured in the same way again. And now we together bless the bonds of this shared ministry. Please find your scarves. And just get those ready. And then, if there are some able-bodied people who would be willing, if there's an empty chair around you, will you gather the scarf from that chair and bring it up here to Jessica, who's over here to the left? And then everyone will need a scarf. So if you do not have a scarf, if you are sitting far in the back and you're at a chair without a scarf, come forward and get one of these scarves. It did not look like this many empty chairs. Okay, anyone in the back need a scarf? Come forward now. If you need a scarf, come forward. If you need a scarf, everyone will need a scarf. Come forward. Okay. So first to the people online, and you here too, but people online, I hope you can see all these scarves down here. They are for you. They are for you. We will tie these scarves for you. And that's what we're going to do. So I know that you've been sitting with these, you've danced with these, you've felt how wonderful they are, and the colors are so beautiful. So now, let it be symbolic of your gifts, what you are willing, how you are willing to show up in this shared ministry here at the Unitarian Church of Evanston. Right? Yeah. Okay. And colleagues, how you are willing to show up to support this ministry. So, if you are, let me get to my notes. If you currently are serving on the board of trustees, I would like you to take one corner of your scarf and diagonally, right? We're going to do them diagonally. So if you have served or are currently serving on the board of trustees for this congregation, tie one end of your scarf with the person on your left and the other end of your scarf with the person on the right. Not behind, just beside. Not behind, just beside. It only works if you pay attention and follow the instructions. This is complicated, but I know you've got it. I know you have it. It's not that complicated, really, but if you are on the committee on shared ministry, tie your scarf with the person on your left and the person on your right. You may have to stand up. It's really okay. You can do that. If you are on the ministerial search committee, tie your scarf, the end of your scarf, to the one person on your left and the person on your right. Stay in your rows-ish. If you are on the pastoral care team and/or the caring team, tie your scarf to the person on the left and the person on the right. If you are on the worship arts or worship associates team, tie your scarves to the person on the left and the person on the right. This is what is required of us in shared ministry. Movement, listening, right? Contribution. It's beautiful. If you're on the hospitality teams, tie your scarves to the person on the left and the person on the right. If you participated in a fundraiser here, or in a covenant group, or served on a committee of any kind, if you are a friend or family member of Eileen, if you are a minister, if you are a colleague, tie your scarves. All right, tie them. How is it working out there? Okay. because it looks easy over here, you two on the ends of these first two rows, tie your scarves together. Gray, not you. No. But you go behind and tie to the next row.
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
We got it.
Okay. You over here, yes, tie it to the person behind you. We want one long strand, so think this through. Take this too. You need to make sure that gets tied to the end, and all those scarves down there. Okay. I see Eileen went out to direct. Okay. So look up at me back in the back. Look up at me, okay? In the back, look up at me. So what we want is we're starting it here. It's moving that way. It's coming that way. It's tied 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 that way. Is that happening? Okay. This is the beginning. Right here. This is the beginning. There you go. Yes, you How are we doing? Raise your hand if it's complete where you are. Oh, yes, raise the scarf. That is so beautiful. Oh, that is so beautiful. Okay, in the back. All right, so here's the thing, right? This happens in shared ministry, is that it may get a little squirrely back there, but we have an opportunity to change it if we need to. So I am going to offer this blessing that was part of the installation. May this congregation and this minister both be blessed with strength and wisdom in the years of necessary and cherished work ahead. Let us join together in humming our closing hymn, and Eileen, our closing hymn is "We Would Be One," just like this strand, all coming together. Eileen is going to take this and weave it as we join in our closing hymn, "We Would Be One." Thank you, everyone. You will have to help. As we move through this song, you will have to move this along.
beloveds. Let each one of us, as we witness this beautiful tapestry of love, let us feel charged by the tremendous love and energy in this room. Let's carry it with us and recall it when we lose touch with the magnificent spark of the divine that always resides within us and between us and well beyond us. May we feel called with our whole selves to the shared ministry of love and to serving the highest good. May we remember our oneness, our beautiful oneness, and may we, our chaotic and beautiful oneness, right? May we together continue to weave the beautiful tapestry of beloved community. Amen. And please stay for a blessing, toast and champagne and whatever in the back. Love you all. Thank you. Sorry. Do the thing. I'm so sorry. I jumped the gun. Adam. There's a chalice extinguishing. Go for it. Oh my God. What am I doing? Here it goes. I'm just so excited. I know you are.
As we conclude the installation ceremony of Reverend Eileen, we extinguish this chalice, but within us burns the hope of the living tradition. May this hope be a beacon guiding us in the courageous work of shared ministry, and to live our lives with a deep commitment to the works of compassion, justice, and liberation for the healing of our world.
Now let's go in peace. I did that already. I did that. Quick. Good? All right.
Yeah, clergy, we're recessing.